Cornmeal.
What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Well, can't say this one was scripted. Can't say this one was rigged. If it was too big to rig. And by that I mean the margin. The Philadelphia Eagles dominated the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59, but a final score of 40-22. And believe you me, the game really wasn't even that close most of the game. Cooper DeJean, Josh Sweat, and the Eagles' ferocious defense denied Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs a Super Bowl three-peat. As I said before, it wasn't even close. DeJean got a pick six on his 22nd birthday. Sweet tormented Mahomes, and the Eagles routed the Chiefs 40-22 to secure the franchise's second Super Bowl championship. Jalen Hurts threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for a score on a tush push, and Vic Fangio's defense was so dominant that the Eagles didn't need much from Saquon Barkley. The game-changing running back finished with 57 yards, breaking Terrell Davis's record for yards rushing in a season, playoffs included. Hurts threw for 221 yards. With President Trump becoming the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl, the Eagles outplayed Kansas City in every facet, delighting a raucous pro-Philly crowd that celebrated each score with a familiar rendition of Fly, Eagles, Fly. Even Taylor Swift's presence couldn't help the Chiefs. They lost for the first time in 10 games this season, with the pop superstar in a suite watching boyfriend Travis Kelce, who didn't catch a pass until late in the third quarter. Not in Kansas City's worst nightmares could its fans have imagined such a lackluster performance. The Chiefs had won 3 of the previous 5 Super Bowls, losing 31-9 to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers some 4 years ago. Mahomes was 8-0 against Fangio's defenses before. And I hope I'm not murdering these names. It might be Fangio's. I just look at it and think it's Fangio's. Before the longtime coordinator and former Broncos head coach outcoached Andy Reid, capping his first season with his hometown team. Reid fell to 3-3 in Super Bowls, including a loss with the Eagles. The Eagles sacked Mahomes some 6 times, the most of his career, including 2.5 by Sweet. And they did it without Fangio calling a single blitz. Barkley, in 2024 Associated Press NFL Offensive Player of the Year, only had 31 yards rushing in the first half when Philly built a 24-0 lead. The Chiefs were aiming to become the 3rd team in NFL history to win 3 straight championships and the first to three-peat in the Super Bowl era. The Kansas City Chiefs were dominated in so many different categories. I mean, toward the end, with the little, 16-0 run they went as far as scoring, they kind of padded their numbers. But before that, the Chiefs were being dominated in time of possession, first downs, takeaways. They were just being completely manhandled. So, this is the thing. This is how I look at it, okay? Honestly, I do believe there was something to the officiating being very advantageous to the Chiefs prior to the Super Bowl. Okay. Sometimes I think those types of things can be overblown, because I do think that when you're rooting for a team, you tend to have a blind spot. You tend to see the calls that go against your team, but you don't see the calls that go in your team's favor. You just don't see it. Not most of the time. But I think most people, even those who are being objective, will tell you that the Kansas City Chiefs were getting a lot of favorable calls. Now, having said that, I've said time and time again that I thought Tom Brady and the Patriots got a lot of favorable calls as well, but people didn't seem to make as much of a ruckus about it over the last several years. That's when I really watched football a lot more, right? At the end of the day, I think the NFL, or the powers to be, knew that, and by the powers to be, I'm talking about, the NFL front office, the commissioner. They knew that, unlike the NBA, who don't seem to really give a shit about the sanctity of their product or the quality of their product, the NFL takes the fan perception very seriously. And the fact that it was starting to become not just whispers on social media or favored or just people who favored the team of the week that just lost. No, this was becoming a running conversation. It was actually going viral about the perception the Chiefs were a fraudulent title, a fraudulent team, and the NFL was becoming more fraudulent. WWE. So for the sanctity of their product, I think they told the officials, look, we just going to play out there. We just let them go out there and play. And with the officials pretty much letting these guys go out there and play, we saw who the better team was. Now, the thing about this is, if you look at it like that, then people who felt like myself, the Buffalo Bills, right? I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. You're going to feel like, well, this justifies a lot of us feeling like, well, this run that the Kansas City Chiefs had this year was very, very fraudulent. Okay? Then you have another thing you can look at is, well, if you want to look at it like that, can we look at this season, especially, but can we look at Patrick Mahomes as an all-time great on that level? If a lot of people assume that the officiating was helping the Chiefs. Now, look, to me, a quarterback cannot affect the game, or a player in general cannot affect the game in football the same way that a great player in the NBA can affect basketball game. You know what I'm saying? But still, he don't belong in the conversation from Michael Jordan as far as three-peat. Michael Jordan would have never let his team get his ass whooped like that. I'm not saying that they couldn't lose, but to lose like that, no. So, I didn't look at the game, y'all. I didn't look at the game. I'm probably one of the few people who didn't, because I got a feeling that the ratings for this game are going to be astronomical. I just have a feeling that the ratings for this game are going to probably be possibly all-time high. I got a feeling that the number of people watching it, the number of people watching this Super Bowl are going to be record-breaking. What's the record, like 123 million? I wouldn't be surprised if it's approaching 130 million people watching this game. Like I said, the only programs I can think of that could even match this in history, as far as like coming close, are like other great Super Bowls. The last episode of MASH. What was that television movie? The Day After Tomorrow in the 80s with the nuclear holocaust. Those are all things even come within the ballpark. Some of the episodes of Roots. Those are things even up over 100 million. You know what I'm saying? I think the last episode of MASH, I think they averaged 106 million viewers, and I think they peaked at 121 million. I think 121 million. Matter of fact, so many people watched that episode of MASH, right? Remember, we're talking about 1983. So the population of the country was like, let me see. In 1983, it was probably about 230 million people, maybe. So we're talking about a country with 110 million fewer people. But so many people watched that episode of MASH that during commercials in New York City, the water pressure had dropped so low during commercial breaks because people were all simultaneously using the bathroom and flushing the toilet or washing their hands or whatever. But it's crazy. I think I remember reading in San Francisco, the viewer share was like at over 80%, like in certain cities. I remember reading about that. I don't know, I've always been fascinated by high-rated programs. And, you know, the last episode of The Fugitive. Yes, there was a show called The Fugitive that was very popular, I think, on ABC back in the late 60s. I think the last episode of that, some almost 80 million people watched that. I think 76 million people watched the last episode of Seinfeld. 93 million people watched the last episode of Cheers, you know. But anyway, tell me what you guys think, man. She's got their ass whooped. Patrick Mahomes cried in the car. Taylor Swift was crying in the booth. Andy Reid ain't as great as they make him out to be. Giants fans got to be sick right now. Oh, and happy birthday to Saquon Barkley. Today is his birthday. What a birthday present.